Welcome back to the Retire As You Desire show. Today, we're going to have a great discussion on the greatest places and some of the potentially not so great places to live and retire in the great state of Illinois. The Retire As You Desire show is all about giving people great advice, great ideas on how to live a most wonderful life in their retirement years. And that's what really the Retire As You Desire lifestyle is all about. It's doing the things you love with the people you love when you want to do them. Freedom. Freedom is a beautiful thing. And speaking of freedom, Illinois is a great state to retire in because number one, you do not, and I repeat, you do not get taxed on your retirement distributions. So when you withdraw money from a pension or when you withdraw money from a 401k or a traditional IRA, you're not getting taxed on that. So that's a huge advantage as to why someone may want to consider retiring in the great state of Illinois. And Bloom Financial, my retirement income planning firm, is based in Chicago. So we have a lot of our clients who live in Illinois, some out of state as well in multiple different states. But Illinois has been a great stronghold for a lot of retirees for many years. So Illinois, they offer a lot of advantages as well, besides just being a great state to live in. Here are some of the things that are very important to understand before you retire in a state. You want to know all these different things. Number one, Illinois has a very diverse economy, and this is great from a state taxation standpoint. They have a pretty robust economy, although some companies have been leaving their headquarters in Illinois. But, we have a very strong finance, manufacturing, agriculture, and technology sector. There's a lot of new companies starting here in Chicago. And even in the suburbs, there is vast growth still being had in the Chicagoland area. Chicago is the state's largest city. Most people know this. It's a pretty major financial hub, and it's a city that my wife and I and our kids live in. It is a great place to live. It really, really is. There's a ton of walkable places. It's one of the best walking cities in America and actually in the world. And you could live in different neighborhoods that have supermarkets, they have restaurants, they have different places to go to just by walking, just in the little 3 to 5 mile radius around you. And there's a pretty thriving job market in 2024 in Chicago and in the suburbs. There's also a ton of great educational institutions, really in a small amount of area too. The state is home to several top-ranked universities, including University of Chicago, Northwestern University, which contribute to a well-educated workforce and a huge outreach of innovation and new opportunities. Another aspect of Chicago is the quality of life. If you're having your kids in Chicago, you have DePaul, you have UIC, you have so many different opportunities to get a great education in the city while living in the city. Now, one of the fun things about Illinois is that there's a cultural richness. And this is so true, and it's been very culturally rich for many, many years now. There's a ton of different restaurants, like world-class restaurants as well, Michelin star. But we also have great museums, theaters, and music venues. We love taking our kids to the Art Institute and the Field Museum, but our favorite is the Shedd Aquarium. That's an award-winning museum. But there's also the Museum of Science and Industry on the south side of the city. That's a fantastic place to visit. So we talked a little bit about the food, and the deep dish pizza was originated in Chicago. It's my favorite. It's called Uno's. It is the best deep dish in the city, in my humble opinion. And there's a whole variety of food from the deep dish to Chicago-style hot dogs, and there's a lot of different ethnic cuisines as well, really reflecting on its multicultural population. Now, not only are there great food, restaurants, museums to go to, we have the lakefront. This is one of the things that very few cities have. We have this gorgeous skyline to take a boat ride, go down the Chicago River, and spend time looking at the sunset, but also seeing the beautiful architecture that our city has to offer. Now, there's a ton of parks and recreation as well. So Illinois has a thing called Friends of the Park, and this is where any land east of Lakeshore Drive, you cannot build a building. So there's going to be land for many, many generations to come, and it's going to keep the parks intact. And that was the whole reason behind creating Friends of the Park, which was, I believe, Mr. Burnham who created that. And it gives us a huge opportunity to still keep great parks, have a lot of opportunities to spend time with your family, have picnics. It's a great place to actually retire and enjoy life. But there's a lot of other things to do outside of Chicago as well. There's Starved Rock. That's a beautiful state park that's known for its hiking, climbing, and just walking and just being in beautiful nature. There's also the Shawnee National Forest. That is an incredible place to visit, especially being one with nature, getting some vitamin D with the sun, and just being present, putting the phone down. And that's a big part of retirement, is enjoying your time. So there's also beaches in Illinois. A lot of people don't know this. In Chicago itself, there's great beaches to enjoy the sun. Some of them have dog parks associated with it. It's a nice place to bring the whole entire family. So Illinois has a ton of great places to actually retire as you desire. Some other activities that my clients love doing is camping and hiking and just really enjoying nature. Some of our clients have those big RVs that they drive all throughout the country, but they've told me some really great spots to drive down south in Illinois and just see either the nature or the trees changing colors. It's really an incredible place to be. And here's one of our gems in Illinois. Fresh water. Yes, you're probably thinking Lake Michigan. There's access to Lake Michigan in so many places in Chicago. It offers beaches, a lot of boating, as I know very well. There's a ton of fishing too that people don't realize, and there's a lot of other water-related activities. One of our second or third cousins ran one of the water taxis, one of the Sea Dogs actually, for many, many years. So we were blessed to be able to do those activities when we were kids. Great place. There's also a ton of ways to get around Illinois. It's a major transportation hub. There are 2 airports, O'Hare and Midway, and also you can get here by bus, by rail. There's so many different ways to enjoy Chicago. And taking a road trip here is great because you get to see the beautiful, magnificent city from afar. And when you get here, so relaxing. It's great to see the city up close and personal. And O'Hare International Airport is one of the busiest airports in the world, actually. It's for national and international travel. And when you get into Chicago, we have the CTA, which is the L system, and a great bus system. When our little son sees the buses, he goes, "Hi bus, bye bus." It's the cutest thing in the world. And another fun aspect of living in Illinois is just the urban and suburban areas. And there's also a ton of rural areas that really provides diverse living. And we have some clients who live down in the farmlands in southern Illinois, and they just love it because it's quiet, they have great land, and they love farming. It's just one of their favorite things to do. Just like Illinois, a lot of our clients are very diverse in the households that we serve. So whether you prefer, the city life of Chicago or quieter, close-knit communities, you could find a lot of different places that could fit your needs in Illinois. I really think that there's something for everyone here. Now, one of the aspects of Chicago itself is the diverse population. We have people from all over the world living here. And you see that just walking down Michigan Avenue. in different areas of the cities and getting incredible food from incredible people from all across the world. That's why Chicago is such a popular city, as you have all of this great energy from different places throughout the world. And if you're considering retiring around Chicago, we have some of the very best health systems in the US. Really some of the best. Northwestern Memorial Hospital and the University of Chicago Medical Center, they are some of the top hospitals in the world. They are just incredible. They're ranked in the top 10 here in America year after year after year. And one of the other best reasons to potentially retire in Illinois is the affordability. Some places, I'm sure you would understand, are more affordable or less affordable than others, but we're gonna get into that into the next segment. Which ones are maybe the best for you, maybe some we wanna really stay away from, and there's reasons for that. But lastly, this is one of my favorite parts of living in Chicago, is the 4 seasons. You get the winter. Then when spring comes around, it's relieving to see finally warm weather and the trees and the plants start to bloom. Then summer is incredible. I don't think there's any other place like living in Chicago when it's summertime. So vibrant, full of energy. And then you have the fall, which is beautiful as well. Stay tuned to the Retire As You Desire show. For the next segment, we're gonna talk about some of the best places to actually retire in the state of Illinois. So stay with us. We'll catch you at the next episode. Now, in this segment, we're gonna talk about affordability. Do you live in a place that you can actually afford? This is one of the most important questions that you need to ask yourself, and be honest with yourself. Welcome back to the Retire As You Desire show. In today's episode, we're talking all about the greatness of Illinois and why it's such a wonderful place to retire as you desire. A lot of our clients live in Illinois and they've had a great time living in this state. It's not perfect, but no state is. It really isn't. I mean, Illinois is so wonderful because you get the 4 seasons, you get so much diversity, you have a great opportunity to do the things you love doing because there's a whole plethora of activities to be had in Illinois, whether it's camping, flying, traveling. We have some of the best airports in the world here. Overall, Illinois is a great combination of economic, cultural, and natural beauty, and there's a ton of richness with a strong infrastructure for community and diversity. That's why it's a great place to retire as you desire. Now, in this segment, we're going to talk about affordability. This is one of the biggest aspects of retirement. Do you live in a place that you can actually afford? This is one of the most important questions that you need to ask yourself, and be honest with yourself as well. Are you living in a place that you can actually afford? Have you saved enough money to pay for your property taxes, maintain the lawn, or an HOA fee every single month when you've saved X amount of dollars? This is one of the aspects of retirement that I love talking to people about, because affordability is going to have a big factor for how long you could stretch your dollars for in retirement. Illinois has several cities that are known for their affordability, which is a great thing for retirees, especially when your retirement dollars are not taxed here. So offering a lower cost of living while still providing great access to amenities and an incredible quality of life is so important. I want to give you some cities that are some of the most affordable in Illinois. And they're all diverse as well. Some of them you would probably guess, some of them probably not. So number 1 is Springfield, Illinois. That's our capital. It's a great place to visit if you haven't been there yet. Ton of history, Abraham Lincoln. I'm sure you've heard stories about this. It's a great place to go and spend a day trip or actually retire there. There's a combination of historical significance and modern amenities as well. The cost of living in Springfield is below the national average, which is a good thing for retirees. You want to be in a place that's probably below the national averages to potentially stretch your dollars further. That way you get to have more fun. Who doesn't want to have fun in retirement? With affordable housing and low utility costs, it's a great place to consider setting up shop for retirement. So here's some things to do in Springfield to really give you a lot of livelihood in your life. There are historical sites like Lincoln's National Historic Site. That's his home that he grew up in. There's a variety of parks and recreational activities as well for you and the whole family. And it would probably be a fun place for your grandkids to come visit you at. You could teach them all about the history of Illinois. Now here's another one that's a little bit further south of us here. It's called Peoria, Illinois. This is a great hub because Caterpillar has big factories in manufacturing in Peoria, Illinois. And it's located along the Illinois River. And it's known for its pretty diverse economy and the rich cultural scene. This area has developed incredibly over the past 20 years just because of that stronghold of different corporations that have such great products that they're really developing and creating in that area. Here's the fun part too. Peoria has affordable housing that's pretty low from a property tax standpoint, and overall lower living expenses compared to larger cities like Chicago. Chicago is not the cheapest place to retire in. But as far as amenities go, they have a mix of urban and natural attractions. And they have the Peoria Riverfront, which is great for boating. And just being right there on the water, it's a great place to be. They also have a beautiful place called the Luthi Botanical Garden. So if you're into gardening and seeing a beautiful array of flowers, it's a must-go-to attraction for people in Peoria. So here's another area that's on the northwest part of the state of Illinois. It's called Rockford. So Rockford is known as the Forest City, and it offers a blend of urban and suburban living with a strong community feel. I know people who grew up there and they raved about it. They loved living there because they were so close to Chicago. They can get there in a short amount of time and they still felt like they were living close to the big city. And it has a very strong community feel as well. So their cost of living is interesting there because it's significantly lower than the national averages. And that's why it's such an attractive option for budget-conscious residents and people who are looking to have their dollars stretched further in retirement. So you may want to consider Rockford. Here are some of their features there. And I've been to this before because one of my friends who I used to work with got married in Rockford. That's where his wife's family was from. It's called the Anderson Japanese Gardens. Oh my goodness, it was beautiful. It's a place that we'll definitely take our kids to one day. It's a must-see feature in the state of Illinois. There's also the Burpee Museum of National History. And no, I'm not talking about the exercises, doing the burpees. You don't have to do them when you first walk into the place. They don't make you do 10. You can go there and just enjoy yourself, but that's another great place to check out in Rockford. Now, this is one that you would probably think, why would I want to move to a college town? I don't want to be around kids partying. I want to have a quiet, peaceful place. But Champaign-Urbana, that's the home of the University of Illinois. Big Ten school. It's a great educational school. They have about 25 to 30,000 kids a year go there to get their educational and college life started. It's a big institution. And this Twin City area offers a vibrant atmosphere with a strong presence of education and culture. Now, you would think a college town, big city, I want to stay away from that. Despite that, Champaign-Urbana, it actually maintains affordable housing and living costs. So when you get 2 hours plus outside of Chicago, you can find some really affordable places to live and have a great retirement in the state of Illinois. Now in Champaign-Urbana, you can go to the college basketball games or the football games, but there's a lively art scene there and a great dining atmosphere. There's plenty of options for parks and outdoor activities. Now here's a fun one. This is Decatur, Illinois. It's a small city. It's not as big as the other ones, but they have a rich industrial history and a strong sense of community, which is what's missing for a lot of people in retirement. You want to be around people who have strong communities. That's part of the 5 aspects of the centenarians about living a long life. That increases your purpose as well. So having a strong sense of community is why you want to consider Decatur as your retirement home for life. So the cost of living there is some of the most affordable living in the state. Along with low utility and transportation costs, it's a big win for retirees. And then also, residents can enjoy a ton of local attractions like the Scoville Zoo and the Children's Museum of Illinois. And Lake Decatur, you're by the water, water is a great place to be. So Bellevue, Illinois is another great place for retirees to consider. It's located near St. Louis, so you're pretty south in Illinois. But Bellevue offers the charm of a smaller city with access to the metropolitan area, which is St. Louis. And it's known for its affordable housing market, low cost of living. That's the common theme amongst all these places. Once you get out of the Chicagoland area, things become more affordable. You can get more land and more bang for your buck from a housing standpoint. So the city actually features a fun historic downtown area and numerous parks and cultural festivals throughout the year. So this is a place to go and check out if you're into those sort of fun activities. And then lastly, we have Alton, Illinois. This is situated along the Mississippi River, so you're probably going to be seeing a lot of boats being transported through there. But it's known for its historical significance being on the river and its scenic views. The cost of living is very inexpensive, very inexpensive. It's quite affordable. But Alton also offers unique attractions like the Alton Museum of History, Art, and scenic Great River Road. All of these cities provide a range of living environments from urban settings to more suburban and rural areas. It depends what your heart is desiring. Do you want to be in a quiet place? Do you want to have things to do and have a more vibrant lifestyle? These are areas to consider for your retirement in Illinois, because all the while you can maintain a lot of affordability and a high quality of life. And all of these things will go a long way in retirement from a dollar standpoint, from a quality of life standpoint, but also having fun. You want to live in a place that you enjoy and gives you peace. And hopefully all of these areas will continue to have great, high quality healthcare for your future retirement years. At the Retire As You Desire show, we love being a great source of information about how to plan for a great retirement and live the life that you desire. Stay with us. In our next segment, we're going to talk about the most expensive cities to live in the great state of Illinois. In Illinois, you have a wide range of places to live. There's several cities and several areas that are known for higher cost of living. There are some of the best schools in the country, ranked number 1 in different levels. So that feeds into that. Housing, amenities, and overall lifestyle is going to drive some of these costs as well, depending on where you live. Here are some of the most expensive cities to live in Illinois. This is probably no shocker, but number 1, welcome back to the Retire As You Desire show. Today, we're talking all about the great places to live and retire as you desire in Illinois. Now, some places are more expensive than others to live in. In this segment, we're going to talk all about some of the most expensive cities to live in the great state of Illinois. In Illinois, you have a wide range of places to live. There's several cities and several areas that are known for higher cost of living. And there's a lot of factors that are driven by this. So a lot of them are schools. There are some of the best schools in the country, ranked number 1 in different levels. So that feeds into that, feeding the school systems, having great institutions for kids to go and learn. But also, housing, amenities, and overall lifestyle is going to drive some of these costs as well, depending on where you live. Here are some of the most expensive cities to live in Illinois. This is probably no shocker, but number one is Chicago, in the great city of Chicago. Overall, it's one of the largest cities in America. I believe it's the third, but it is the largest city in Illinois. It is such a major cultural, financial, and commercial hub. You have almost anything here, almost anything, from sports to art to museums to the restaurants to incredible neighborhoods to live in. You have such a strong, vibrant boating community here as well. Just like the Chicago Yacht Club runs the race to Mackinac out of the Chicago Harbor here every July. And that's where you have over 300 to 400 sailboats race up to Mackinac Island trying to get there first. So it's pretty incredible. I've been honored and blessed to do that race 7 times. So the boating community here is super strong. But some of the problems with Chicago is it has a very high cost of living, especially in terms of housing, dining, entertainment. It's really hard to go to a restaurant, a good restaurant, and not leave with a $100 bill. It's very difficult to do that for 2 people. So it's a more expensive place to live these days. There are neighborhoods like Lincoln Park, River North, the Loop that are very expensive. And I know this because we have friends and people, and we've lived in some of these areas as well. But Chicago offers world-class museums, and then the theater scene here is incredible. Some of the biggest shows in the world come to Chicago, to our theaters, to perform here. So it's a big theater hub here in Chicago. But the sports venues are great. You have to check out Wrigley Field, go to a Bulls or a Blackhawks game. I'm not a big football fan, but people love the Bears, or they say the Bears here in Chicago. A little Chicago language for you. But overall, there's a great bustling downtown area. And shopping is second to none here. You could find things as high-end as you would like, or as simple as you please. You can have a wide arrangement of shopping places along the Magnificent Mile. Now, Evanston is the sister city to Chicago. It's north, right above it, but they're basically connected. And it's home to Northwestern University. It has more of a suburban feel rather than an urban feel, but it has all of the urban amenities that Chicago has. The cost of living in Evanston is high. And it's high because of the housing market and the property taxes. There's a lot of students who go to school there, so it's hard to find real estate in Evanston that's affordable. The property taxes are pretty high there as well. But some of the great things about Evanston is the lakefronts, the cultural attractions, and it has a really cute downtown area with shops and restaurants. There's a ton of things to do and a lot of great bakeries in Evanston. And plus, you could probably catch a Northwestern football or basketball game as well. Now, we're going to talk about Naperville now. Overview, Naperville is a huge suburb. It's about 45 minutes west of Chicago. I am blessed to know one of the gentlemen who was the major house developer in Naperville. Him and his company built thousands of homes in Naperville, and that's what made it to be one of the most attractive places to live at, not only in Illinois, but in the United States of America. Naperville has been ranked number 1 in America as the best city to raise a child in for many years in a row. So it's a great place to raise a family as well. And it's pretty large too. It's known for its excellent schools. They have some of the top ranked schools in America as well. They have family-friendly environment and such an affluent lifestyle. There's a higher cost of living in Naperville than most suburbs. But that's driven by housing and high property taxes. Those high property taxes, they pay for the schools. That's the big aspect of things, but it's also a safer place to live. So if you're looking to retire in a safe place, Naperville could be a great choice for you because they have a charming downtown area with a ton of restaurants. They have a nice park, and they also have a great river walk. It's a beautiful place to be and a beautiful place to visit. But there's another area that is sort of like Evanston that's basically adjacent to Chicago. It's called Oak Park. This city has a ton of history associated with it. And it's known for its historic architecture, which still remains today. And it has a lot of vibrant art centers. It has a great art community. It's one of the most known art communities in Illinois. So the cost of living there is more expensive than Chicago suburbs because of the property taxes. That's a recurring theme here in retirement. If you retire in a place that has high property taxes, your investments will need to keep up with higher property taxes in the future, because that's the trajectory that a lot of these cities, these more expensive ones, are going to have for the next 20 and 30 years. So that's something to keep in mind too. But getting back to Oak Park, there are historic Frank Lloyd Wright homes there, which are beautiful, and the art scene is incredible. And it's about a 10 to 20 minute drive into downtown Chicago, depending on traffic. That could also take you 40 minutes on some days, depending on the time of the day you leave Oak Park. But it's so close to the downtown area that you definitely want to take advantage of. Plus, you could take the Blue Line straight into the city and drop you right off with no driving. It's a beautiful thing. Another great place to retire in, but it's very expensive, is called Highland Park. So Highland Park is a northern suburb of Chicago. The overview, it's located pretty close to Lake Michigan, but it's a very wealthy suburb, and it's known for some scenic beauty and some beautiful and massive houses. If you have been blessed to do well in your career, save a ton of money, and you want to live in a big home for the rest of your life, this may be a place for you to consider. It's not a bad thing, but they have a very high cost of living, again, with high real estate and high property taxes. That's higher than normal in America. But the city has beautiful parks because of the high taxation. But it has one of my favorite concert venues to go to. It's called Ravinia. And that's where you could buy tickets and sit in proper seats, or you could sit on this vast park area and still listen and watch the concert, but bring your cheese and crackers, your wine, and have a great event. It's a really fun place to go to. So that's a great destination in Illinois as well. They also have some high-end dining and fashion. You're gonna get that when you're living in the more expensive areas in Illinois. Here's another one that's pretty close to Highland Park. It's called Winnetka. So this is another affluent North Shore suburb, but Winnetka is one of the wealthiest communities in Illinois and in America. The cost of living is pretty high, but that's driven by all the housing prices and property taxes. Again, a reoccurring theme. It's the prices and the taxes, and it's just more expensive. But they have some top tier schools. So if you have kids or grandkids, it's a great place to potentially retire. But there are beautiful, massive lakefront homes. We're talking $10 million homes right on Lake Michigan. And there's also some pretty nice country clubs and golf clubs to be a part of. Now, if this is not your scene, there's also Hinsdale, Illinois, which is about 45 minutes west of the city as well. Now, this is known for historic homes. They have some beautiful, incredible homes outside of Chicago, and it's an upscale lifestyle as well. Hinsdale is amongst one of the most expensive suburbs for Chicago, and there's a beautiful downtown area that has great shopping, restaurants, and they have great schools too. And there's one other city that I want to mention, which is Lake Forest, situated on the north side as well, but they have some prestigious educational institutions there. It's a great place to raise a family. But aside from that, from the expensive nature, they have great parks, another historic downtown area, and the Lake Forest College. All of these cities and areas are attractive due to their amenities and just having wonderful restaurants and more of a safer lifestyle. And those taxes are paying for the firefighters, the police officers, the people that help try and take care of their cities. But all of these areas have a higher price tag compared to other parts of Illinois. So if you're not interested in paying high taxes the rest of your life, you don't want to consider these areas to retire as you desire in. But if you don't mind that, if you save that and you really value having nice downtown areas to walk to, have great senses of community, you may want to consider some of these 8 different cities to retire as you desire in Illinois. Here is where people are moving to the most. If you don't pay your property taxes, it's probably not a good sign for your future retirement years, especially if the taxes are already too high. You're going to want income from your portfolio as well to be a part of your foundation for planning in retirement for these income and really to cover these higher expenses in these higher living areas. These are all major factors as far as property taxes, the cost of living, to understand before you actually retire and make big decisions. Getting your foundation set up before you actually retire is a game changer. Welcome back to the Retire As You Desire show. Today's episode has been all about where should you retire in Illinois? Where are some great places, some maybe not so great places, depending on how much you've been able to save in retirement. But these are all major factors as far as property taxes, the cost of living, to understand before you actually retire and make big decisions. Getting your foundation set up before you actually retire is a game changer. Knowing where you want to live is going to help you out in the long run. Since 2008, I've been serving the greater Chicagoland area with the Retire As You Desire lifestyle to help people live the life that they desire and what they've dreamed of. And your home is a big part of that. Having that perspective has been great because I've had the privilege of working with people all over the state and in many states. But I'm going to give you some really great tips from things that I've learned over the past 15 years that's helped people retire as they desired in different places in Illinois. So some of our clients who live in the rural towns, way outside of the Chicagoland area, these towns have been shrinking. A lot of the times these areas were being really they're just shrinking because industry has left their town. We have one client who lives in Toluca, Illinois, and there's one factory there that has changed ownership and they've laid off a lot of people. Unfortunately, that town is shrinking because of that, and the populations, they're not growing. There's not enough industry to allow it to grow. There's not a big enough metropolitan area to sustain that living. So these towns are shrinking, and some of them, inevitably, they become a ghost town. So you want to be considerate of that. And then crime is also a big part of where you don't want to live in retirement, a place that has high crime. A lower crime area is a big key potential to a safer retirement. So Western Springs and Campton Hills are the areas that were rated very low to no crime in many different areas. So if you're worried about living in Illinois, but you want to live in a safer place, Western Springs and Campton Hills were 2 areas that rated very highly for safety. Such an important decision to consider as we age and go into retirement. This is great for the safety of all of our communities. Well, here's a fun one, or a happy one, I should say. Aurora, which is the neighboring city to Naperville, about 45 minutes to an hour west of Chicago, was rated the happiest city in Illinois. Now, if you're a happy person, you may want to consider Aurora to live in. Aurora has been growing for many, many years now. And as I said, right next to Naperville, which has been ranked the #1 city in America to raise a family, live in, and it's won many other awards. So you get a lot of the rich benefits of Naperville, but living in Aurora, which may be less expensive in the long run, not by much, because that's changed over the years, but the level of affordability is higher in Aurora rather than Naperville. Now, if you want to live in a vibrant area in retirement, these may be some areas that you want to stay away from because these are some of the poorest counties in Illinois. Those are Alexander County, Pulaski County, Franklin County. The thing is, if you live in these areas or want to retire in these counties, that's great. But the advice I would give you is to really understand their medical capabilities. Where's the nearest hospital? How are the doctors ranked? What are other major important factors to consider there? What are their safety rankings as well? Because if you're living in an area that doesn't have high property taxes or high taxes as a whole, there may not be great areas from a safety perspective as well. So please be careful of that where you choose to live, especially in Illinois. Here are some of the most expensive towns to live in Illinois. Some of these we mentioned, some of these we didn't, but there's a whole plethora and range of these. Some of them are Kenilworth, Winnetka, which we mentioned before, Glencoe, which is beautiful, by the way. It's very close to Winnetka, and Hinsdale. And if you're considering living in these areas, just plan on potentially increasing property taxes. You have to budget for this and plan for this. It's very important. Some property taxes have raised 20 or 30% in areas over years. So we need to factor that into your retirement income plan. That should be a standard of planning for your future retirement years. And again, work with your financial advisor or your accountant to help you with these things. If you don't pay your property taxes, it's probably not a good sign for your future retirement years, especially if the taxes are already too high. You're going to want income from your portfolio as well to be a part of your foundation for planning in retirement for these income and really to cover these higher expenses in these higher living areas. Naperville has been the #1 city to live in for many years in America, and especially Illinois. It's no surprise, it's a reoccurring theme, but these places are just fantastic because they have great downtown areas, great restaurants, and vibrant communities. I really recommend people to be living in great community areas that have either elder centers or areas where they can go learn new activities, and especially with the arts. So some of these areas are great because they have the lowest cost of living, like the lowest cost of living in Illinois. If you've heard of these places, God bless. I had to look this up and learn about these because I hadn't heard about these places before. One of them is Pinckneyville, Carmi, Creve Coeur, Gilman, and Kewanee. All of these places in Illinois are very low cost of living. But as you can see on the map, they're kind of spread out throughout the state. And you want to be close to different hospitals or different medical facilities if you've had some health issues throughout your life. Now, here's a fun one for those who wonder about what the top percentage of income earners are in Illinois. And to be considered rich in Illinois, this is a fun stat. According to the numbers, you need to be making at least $660,000 a year, and that's the top 1% of income earners. That's what they make in Illinois. Not a bad chunk of change. That's a big income. But as far as retirees go in Illinois, to be able to make up a $660,000 income a year, you're probably going to need to save a ton of money. We're talking millions and millions of dollars, which a lot of people have in Illinois. But that's something to consider as to where you're living in our great state. And then lastly, here's where most Illinois residents are moving to. This is one of the funniest things that I read the other day. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are guessing Chicago, or maybe Lincoln Park, or maybe to Naperville, these nice areas. But the thing is, it's none of these. Here is where people are moving to the most, and it's no surprise that none of these places are in Illinois. Here's the list. Phoenix, Arizona, no surprise there, warm weather, dry heat. If you love that environment, it's great for you. Dallas, Texas, again, heat, but they have humidity being in the south. But Phoenix and Dallas, those areas have really boomed from a cost of living standpoint. So you probably needed to save quite a few dollars to be able to move there in retirement. This one was surprising to me because of the cost of living, and that is Los Angeles, California. A lot of people from Illinois, especially retirees, have been moving out to LA, but the cost of living there is pretty atrocious some days. It's very high. So knowing how much all the average cost of living will be are things you want to look up before you leave Illinois. Here's another one, Denver, Colorado. The housing costs there have really boomed over the years. This place is beautiful. You have the mountains, you have a lot of great boating activity in Colorado too and the surrounding areas, but if you love skiing, this is your place to go. And Atlanta, Georgia. Again, warm weather, hot summers, but you miss out on the winters here. So overall, understanding a couple things is going to really recap our episode today. Number one, property taxes. What's the history of the area where you're living right now or where you want to retire? Have property taxes been going up 10, 20, 30%, which it has been in some of our areas? Or are they staying pretty stable? And if they are stable, if they jump 20, 30%, is it still going to be affordable for you? There's a potentially better opportunity for you to have greater success in the first segment of the show, moving to those greater metropolitan areas, but outside of the Chicagoland area. And whenever you're doing your retire as you desire planning, we're here to help. If you feel as if your financial advisor or your tax planning team, they're really not retirement income professionals, I would love to have the opportunity to put together a complimentary retirement income plan for you, because we talk about items like this. Property taxes, where income could go in retirement. What are your expenses? Sometimes you need to graduate to work with someone who specifically works in retirement income planning to potentially have a better retirement. We're here to help you retire as you desire, and tune in every Friday night to a new episode of the Retire as You Desire show, 6 p.m. Central Time, and thank you for being with us.